Hi, we are going to talk about lists. A list is a collection of stuff. That's all it is. We have lists in the real world, like a to-do list, or if you look over here, I've got two lists. One of all the videos I've done so far, and the other one is all the videos I plan to do. And this is just going to be a list. So lists are another data type. They are a more complicated data type. They have some cool built-in features to them, and we have ways of accessing a specific item on a list. But a list is just another data type. So I'm going to call my list people, and it has square brackets on the outside. And then inside those square brackets, I'm going to go Matt, and Donna, and Mark, and Danny, and that'll be all. So now I've got a list, and I've got a list with 4 strings on it, right? Notice how between each thing there's a comma, and each thing is divided by itself. Technically, I can have different data types on the same list. It is highly not recommended. I really do not recommend using multiple data types on the same list. Now, if I want to print out my list, I go print, and I say people, and I just run my program, and whoops, I have to run this program, so Control-Shift F10, and boom, it prints out my whole list. That's cool. That's great, right? It ran and it prints out the whole list, and it's formatted in a bit of a funny way. Now, if I don't want to print out the whole list, but I want to access a specific element in the list, how would I do that? So I go people, and that will print out everyone. What if I want to access a specific one, I have to go to that one on the list. So the way we do that is we use square brackets after the name, no spaces, to access it. And I'll say 0 will be the first person. So if I run this and I print this out, I'll get back Matt, which is the first person on the list. And I can do this for everything else. So the first space is 0, second is 1, third is 2, fourth is 3, and so on and so forth. And you'll remember when I stressed on modulo how we have 0 all the way to the number before the end. Now you might begin to see how that weird whole 0 to the end starts coming up again in computer science, and it's one of those weird patterns that comes up a lot in computer science. We count starting at 0 until our end. So in this case, how long is my list? How many items are on my list? There's 4. So I can check the length. But the first item is going to be 0, and the last item is going to be 3. So if I want to get all of the things, I'd go 0, 1, 2, 3. So just to do that really quick over here, right? So if I do 0, 1, 2, 3, and I run this, and I print out each thing individually. Cool. Now, if I would like to get the length of my list, I have the same way we have print, which is a built-in function, which is a built-in piece of Python code that runs and prints out whatever I give it. I have another function called length, which takes whatever I give it and gives me back the length of that thing. So in this case, I'm going to take the length of people, and we'll talk more about these built-in functions in an upcoming lesson. If you took a peek at that whole README, you'd know that that's coming up eventually. But for now, we're going to run the length, and we get back 4. Why? Because there's 4 things there. The numbers that we count when we're accessing them are 0, 1, 2, 3, but the total number of things is 4. And that's how it works. That's the basic things about a list. Now, we don't just have to access a specific item in a list. We can access entire sections of a list. So the way we would access an entire section of a list, so I'm gonna comment out these for now, and we're going to access, the way we'd access a subsection is we use a colon over here. So I can do, let's say 2 colon, and I run this, and this is going to get from 2 until the end. So in this case, it gives me 2, 3. Now what happens if I do 2 and I do 9? right? Is this going to give me back an error, or is this going to work? That's a good question, and the answer is it works. Works just fine. It goes from 2 through 9. So I can go from 0 to 1, and we run that, and it just gives me back the first one. So if it's just by itself, it gives me back from that number until the end. And now if it starts over there and it goes till, let's say, 2, right? So there's no number before the colon, it's just colon and then a number afterwards, and I run that. I get everything after 2. So I get 0, 1. So I get 2. Sorry, not everything after 2, everything until 2. So I get 0 and 1, and then it cuts off. It's going to cut off at the end of my number, but it doesn't include my number. So if I did length over here, right? So if I did length of people, it would actually give me everything. Why? Because it's going from the beginning until the length, which is 4, so it cuts off before 4. And it's a little bit clever, and we don't even need to worry about that because technically I can do it without that. So if I just do 2, it's going to cut off 0, 1. Now I can do both. I can do a start cutoff and an end cutoff. And these square brackets are just really useful to have. This is how we access subsets of my list or a specific element in my list. That's all that lists are for. Just a list of stuff and stored in a variable. Access either a specific element or subsets of the list. We can also get the length list using length, which is a built-in function, and we can get length of pretty much any built-in data type, but we'll speak about that when we talk about built-in functions at a later time. As always, if you have any questions, let me know, and I'll be happy to answer them.